Joining me on stage is Parag, Chief Digital Officer of CNH Industrial, and Bob Mazer, President and CEO of Mazergroup. And we're here to talk about the investments in precision ag. So join me on stage, gentlemen. Come and have a seat. I'm told I'm not allowed to ask which is better, Case or New Holland.
Yeah,
I guess I'm not allowed to ask that question.
we love all our brands.
I feel like there's a fighting stage in the middle if we want to get into it. All right, so gentlemen, I really want to know about your connection to agriculture. Parag, maybe you can share with us a bit about your personal agriculture background and then your career within CNH.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't actually come from an agriculture background. I come from a technology background. So I work for companies like Microsoft and Amazon and T-Mobile. And my journey of joining CNH was actually this ability to help farming with technology. And really, when you think about the intersection of where all of this great work that's happened in technology and where that technology can be used in farming, there's a huge intersection in terms of productivity, efficiency, yield, and sustainability. And so for me, it's been a really good personal challenge for how do you take technology and get the most out of it.
That's great. I have long argued that agriculture is one of the most scientifically advanced industries on the globe, but it's not always the way consumers see us. So as somebody who's coming into the agriculture industry, has that been your experience as well, that people don't often think of agriculture and technology together?
Yeah, I think it's understated. And what I would say by that is people don't appreciate the challenges that farmers go through and how much technology really evolves farming. And when you even take our portfolio of equipment and how much the iron creates value for customers and our farmers, but more importantly, how much the technology can amplify that. And so, last year as I joined the company and started seeing our equipment and what it's capable of, and then when you start thinking about how technology just amplifies it, it's definitely understated.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Has there been anything from your experience coming into agriculture industry that really completely blew your mind?
I think sub-inch accuracy, like just as a category and a context of like how precise prescriptions can get, how exact you can get on yield, how much solutions like our Raven technologies can bring. It's incredible to think about how people farmed without it.
Yeah, I want to talk later about bringing Raven into the fold. But Bob, I was really interested reading your bio. You have a childhood of farm stories of that, I'm sure. So share with us a little bit about your childhood and also maybe some life lessons that you might attribute to growing up on the farm.
Well, I didn't actually grow up on the farm. I was born in Radville, Saskatchewan down here, so I'm a good Saskatchewan boy. Grew up on a farm just outside of Ogama for 9 years, and then we moved to Brandon. And even at 9 years old, I knew that I was going directly back to the farm.
Yeah.
So in 1968, I left school a little earlier than everybody else did.
Voluntarily, or did you get asked?
Well, it was a mutual agreement, actually. My principal and I thought it would be better for me to go and do something else in my life than...
That's called a severance agreement.
Yeah, that's very good.
Create any kind of havoc for him. So I bought my first three-quarter section and I went farming. And shortly after I got my crop in 1968, my dad said he was in the Mass Ferguson business in Brandon, and he said, your mother and I are going to Europe for a month, so come and run the business. Wow. And so at 18 years old, there I was. So yeah, I've been dedicated to agriculture and the industry for 54 years.
That's great.
Wouldn't change a thing.
So let's talk about your dealership history, where you started at one dealership to the 18 dealerships you had today. Share with us what that growth has been like and what things might look like going forward. You told me in the green room that you're not much of a goal setter, which is a very different leadership quality than we're used to hearing. So share with us about that.
Well, as I said, I went I continue to farm. I've farmed all my life, but basically went full-time into the implement business when I was 18. And I landed up seeing something I really liked in a farmer's field in 1970, and I landed up being able to get the Versatile agency for Brandon. And it was a developing brand at the time, and it just got going, and they introduced tremendous tractors, 700 and 900, and so I got that agency, and I guess the story gets told from there. I was in the business, landed up becoming a Ford New Holland dealer because of my Versatile legacy once Ford New Holland bought Versatile. And then it just sort of, I wouldn't say by accident, but darn near, in 1994 we bought our first expansion store at Hartney, Manitoba, and from there it was pretty much a dealership a year for about a decade, and now we're basically throughout all of Manitoba. We're the New Holland dealers for Manitoba, basically, and for a nice little chunk of Saskatchewan here, including Regina. And so we're at 18 stores, and again, I wouldn't change a thing. We are, we really love the implement business. We love the agricultural sector, and wouldn't change a thing.
How many employees would you have under the Mazergroup umbrella?
About 400.
About 400 people.
Yeah.
And what has the labor issues been like for you?
Sherilyn, we don't really. I think out of 400 people, I think we're about 7 shy technicians,
yeah.
And that's the only thing we're shy at this moment.
Okay.
It's interesting as we grew that we were able to let people almost go home sometimes because we have so many locations. They can almost go home, or say a spouse gets transferred or whatever to a different location, then we can pretty much match that. And we really tend to try to sell ourselves on the notion that Mazergroup is a family. It is a family business. It's privately held. It's held by majority by my family, and we think it's a dealership with a whole bunch of locations. One dealership with a whole bunch of locations. I pretty much know the names of every one of my employees. So,
I mean, I've seen it as a dealer partner with Bob, and the way he treats his employees and treats the dealership. It really is a family business, and I've seen how he cares about the individuals and what they're doing, and bringing that community together. I think you've built just a fantastic business, and I would
Thanks,
say,
Parag.
No, I would say though, like, you really treat people like family, and it's a big part of what makes the Mazergroup special, and that service connection that you give.
We hope so.
Yeah.
We hope so.
So Parag, with the addition of Raven that's come into the CNH fold, what does that mean for value for your customers? Tell us about Raven as an entity and what that looks like for a value proposition for your customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that really attracted us to Raven is its customer-centric model, right? Which is you get really close to the customers, understand the customer problem, and then go build and develop solutions that are exactly what the customer needs. A great example of that was actually a recent partnership with Bob and Bob's team. So I came out to Saskatchewan about, I would say, September of last year.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah, October.
Yeah, September, October last year, and pre-Raven close, Bob had some customers that needed a very specific solution, and CNH was working on some solutions for them, but Raven really rose to the challenge and said, "Hey, Bob, we think we have a way to solve this problem for you. Let us work with your customer and see if we can get you there." And so, it's really that deep understanding of what the customer needs in technology, and then coming back with options for them. It's a similar ethos that I would say CNH Industrial has had on the iron side, where we really get close to the customer and close to understanding what they need and building great iron for them. And I think Raven just is a kind of a hand in glove fit of bringing that technology component along. And so even on our CNH side, we've been going through a digital transformation for technology, and we've been bringing in a lot more talent, becoming a lot more customer centric, insourcing a lot of our technology components, and Raven has just been a really good complementary fit with that.
When you think of your customers, do you think of farmers as your customers? Do you think of dealerships as your customers? How would you define that?
To be honest with you, I see them both as customers for different reasons, right? So ultimately, our dealers are an incredibly important part of the partnership of serving our farmers. At the end of the day, the farmers are the one who spend the money on the equipment. So we work hand in hand with the dealerships to make sure that they have what's necessary for them to serve the customers well. But we have an obligation and responsibility to make sure that our equipment and our technologies work for our customers. And being blunt, like that's how Bob and I got to know each other so well. You know, I spent time with Bob last summer, and he said, "Hey, I want you to come meet one of our customers." And so that was the catalyst to come out to Regina and spend time with that customer. And you know, with a great OEM and dealer partnership, you can do that. So we went to go spend time with that customer together because ultimately we both have a responsibility to serve them.
I would say historically speaking, agriculture has always been innovative, and farmers have always either innovated themselves on their own farm operation, or they've looked for dealerships and equipment manufacturers to innovate for them. We have PAMI as one of our setups right here in the innovation building. And so in terms of innovation that farmers are looking for, how do they share that with you, what their needs are, what their wants are, what their desires are on the farm?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. We have, in Mazergroup, we have 14 PT or precision technologists. And that's how we continue to grow into the technology world is through our technologists. And that's what they're dedicated to do. The acquisition of Raven by C&H is really an incredible marriage because for me, I started with a 15-foot disker, and now we're seeing with 80-foot air drills and sectional control and da-da-da-da-da. And all of these things are, the technology is meant to either up production or to save costs, to be more efficient. And the Raven folks here have just been super to deal with, and we are solving problems. We had one in Manitoba with a manure management company, and we were really fighting up. We were really going uphill. We'd sell them the equipment, but we didn't have the technology to monitor and collect the data for the application of this manure. And these guys jumped to the pump, and we have got a terrific, absolutely spectacular competitor-beating process and technology that is the essentially is the environment. We're not only talking about efficiencies, now we're talking about the environment and being good stewards of the land, and the technology and the support from Raven is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I would just add that necessity is the mother of all invention. And when I think about farmers, I really think of inventors, right? And when you think about environments, soil conditions, crop types, there's just too many varieties of configurations that people need. And so we really look to our dealer groups to really help us understand the markets and understand what's needed, and working closely with them, right, in partnership in terms of how do we bring solutions to market, and then how do we bring solutions to market that can address larger audiences. And when they can't, that's when you see like good fits with shortliners and others to help fill some of those gaps and voids. When you think about Raven is a really good example of an acquisition where Raven brought the best sprayer technology in the industry available, and at the same time, Case, but they were making their new 50 series Patriot sprayers. And when you think about it, now with the acquisition, we're able to take the best sprayer technology and now apply it to all of our New Holland and Case equipment and bring that technology to market. So we're always going to continue to look for great new technologies that are going to advance farming and figure out how we can make that available to more dealers and more customers quickly at values that are both economic but also, what I would say, good for the land.
So can Saskatchewan take credit for that innovation, or is a lot of that new technology coming from other areas of the world, and we're adapting it here to our local conditions?
I would say Saskatchewan should take the credit because we've been really lucky with having, actually I don't know if it's known, but Raven actually has an office here in Saskatchewan. And so that is kind of a unique element that
It's the weather,
yeah, it's the weather. It's sunny 364 days a year, right?
Location.
No rain, no snow. It's like perfect weather. But what I would say is like we're going to continue to invest in the community, and we want to. Like the home of autonomy was here in Saskatchewan, right? Like the DOT platform, which now is our OmniPower sitting outside. But those inventions are coming out of this market because, as I said, farmers are inventors, and so. As I see the future, I really, as a CNH leader, I do want to continue to invest in this community with technology opportunities that allow farming families to now become inventors and help drive the future of ag.
There's at shows like this, we have a lot of consumers and general public that will wander in, they'll take in the equipment, they'll take in the show, but they're quite disconnected from the day-to-day growth of agriculture. And I think when they think of agriculture, they don't often think of autonomy and robots and drones and precision the way we do. And I feel like it's my job as a farmer to share some of that obligation to talk to consumers about all of the cool inventions and innovations that we work with on the farm today. And I also put that onus back on the companies that are connected to agriculture. Is there anything that you would say your companies are doing now that is a connection to the general public and helps us to tell the story of the invention in agriculture rather than the fear factor?
Oh boy, that's a tough one because, I think it's incumbent on all of us, everyone involved in agriculture, as you say, Sherilyn, to do our part in I guess, spreading the word and giving some understanding of what agriculture is today. This last generation probably has a very small percentage that has a direct link to the farm. 3 generations back, there was almost everyone had a direct link to the farm.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of misunderstanding about how our food is grown and what we do to be stewards of the land, to take care of our land and our productive properties, and how we are able to continue to feed the world. And there are proponents that shouldn't be any chemical, or there shouldn't be any fertilizer and so on. But quite frankly, we need to make sure that they understand that if we don't follow the science, we're not going to feed the world. We can't do it.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible success story. And I know most of the farmers that come to the show find the technology to be fascinating. I suppose, Bob, you and I both share a few gray hairs.
Oh, yeah.
So when you think about the good old days of farming, is there any lessons that we should learn as we forge ahead on the technology side?
In actual fact, I think early agriculture in the prairie provinces was not exactly environmentally friendly.
We don't have a halo over our head?
No, we don't. And what we're learning and what we do today to manage and be stewards of the land with all the technology, but also the methods of farming and so on. I don't know if there's anything that, other than work ethic, Sherilyn, other than work ethic that come from our parents and their parents and so on. Ultimately, I'm very proud of the ag industry in Western Canada and how we are looking after the land today and are able to meet the challenges of feeding the world. I'm pretty proud.
I would add to that, which is like one of the lessons that I'm seeing is like purpose. right? So even as the newer generations or younger generations, as they're coming in, and when they're finishing school and trying to find their first jobs or second jobs, they're trying to figure out, like, I want to do something with purpose. And when you in the technology industry, there's cryptos and NFTs and all this stuff you can do, but really agriculture has the opportunity to really create purpose for your work, right? It's helping feed the world, it's creating sustainability, it's really changing the way people can have that perspective on what they do. And you brought up this concept of robots. I tell people, like, hey, we work on big, giant, massive autonomous robots. That's what we do. And by the way, it helps feed the world, it helps reduce pesticide input, and it helps us be better stewards of the land.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story. It's a good story for us to share with all of the people who have been here today, and a good way to wrap up the session. I want to thank you both so much for your time being here today and being at the show. And I know both Parag and Bob would be happy to answer any of the questions that you folks might have that didn't get a chance to answer. And for those of you online, you can watch this show on our CFS YouTube channel, Canada's Farm Show YouTube channel. This session and all of those will be streaming live. So thank you both very much for being here, and a round of applause for them both.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you.